Welcome back to ChemCon TV's News Bulletin. Today, on Sustainable Wednesday, we have the following in store for you. An inspiring interview on substitution, a safer materials strategy. Furthermore, a statement related to Europe's Clean Industrial Deal. And to start with, some takeaways from TSCA Tuesday.
In the second part of our TSCA panel, we started off going over the basics about TSCA imports and exports. Then we followed up with TSCA Section 6 actions. First, we talked about methylene chloride and how that risk evaluation and risk management action went. We followed it by talking about the manufacturer requested risk evaluations of the phthalates and how that risk evaluation's been going and how cumulative risk is being looked at. Then we followed up by a TSCA litigation update. There's a lot of ongoing litigation, particularly around TSCA Section 6. When they finish an action with EPA, everyone sues, it seems. So we went through the pending litigation and what it might mean for TSCA Section 6, and we concluded the presentation just going again through TSCA enforcement actions and how EPA is enforcing and some statistics on recent enforcement actions. It was a really interesting panel.
Great sound bites from yesterday's sessions. For whatever reason this week, I often think of Frank Sinatra's Coffee Song. I should ask the band to play that song tonight at our social event. They've got an awful lot of coffee in Brazil. However, I think Boston is linked more to tea. Let's ask our local reporter, Arturas, what's Boston's connection with tea?
Great question. For that, let's go to Boston's waterfront and let's take the Longfellow Bridge, also known as the Salt and Pepper. Oh, wicked. It's easy to get lost in Boston. I think I know why we're here. Let's see. Salt and Pepper Bridge. Ah, there it is. This charming alley is a true hidden gem, famous for its unique art project called the Boston Bricks, where around 100 brick-sized bronze reliefs are embedded in the paving stones, each depicting key events and quirky aspects of Boston's history and culture, like our Salt and Pepper Bridge. But Tiered, you wanted to talk about tea. Let's see about going there now. Ah, here it is. Hear ye, sons of liberty. The shipment of that dreadful tea has crowded our port for far too long. What say you? Shall we make Boston Harbor a teapot tonight? Perhaps the world's most famous protest, the Boston Tea Party, is reenacted here every single day, recreating that fateful night on December 16, 1773, when disguised colonists raided the ship and dumped over 90,000 pounds or 40,000 kilograms of that dreadful British tea into the harbor. You should know the rebels were deeply principled and opposed to mob violence. They carefully swept the decks of the ships and replaced damaged property once the tea was disposed of, and took none for personal use. The tea was dreaded as King George passed a 3-cent tax on tea and banned competitors to the East India Company from selling in the colonial market. One of the masterminds behind the Boston Tea Party, Samuel Adams. Master of persuasion, political agitator, and nowadays you might find him on a bottle of beer. But would you like a cup of tea?
No thanks, you just mentioned beer, if you can substitute it for a beer. Substitution, one of the topics of today's interview with Beth Uhlhorn and Pam Eliason. Ladies, why is there an increasing need for substitution of hazardous materials in society and industry today?
I would say from an industry perspective and from a company perspective, industries and companies are interested in having a good reputation, in having trust from society, from regulators, all of those sorts of things. And so looking to identify substitutes for things that are of concern or to develop safer chemistry is a way that you can really demonstrate to society create trust in society and show progress, and that you're moving away from materials that they're worried about.
Okay, and Pam?
I think, we're learning so much more about chemicals and materials and their potential to have a negative impact on humans or on the environment. And as we learn more, I think there's a real opportunity there to question, do we just accept that, or do we innovate? Do we find new ways to do what we do that are safer and more sustainable, so that we don't have to go through the process again? So I think we're learning more, and I think companies also have more of a commitment to making a change and being in the game for the long term. And you can't do that if you're using something that's harming the environment or your workers or the general population.
Please watch the complete interview on our YouTube channel. After this interview, let's check if Arthur has managed to substitute the tea for beer. Arthur, time for happy hour?
Sorry, Tiered, there's no happy hour here in Boston. Drink deals were banned in 1984 due to public safety concerns about drunk driving. But there are many places to enjoy a Samuel Adams, like in the Samuel Adams Brewery, building bold flavors just as Adams himself brewed bold ideas.
Many bold and brilliant ideas also come from MIT and Harvard, just across the Charles River. Please visit Cambridge.
As America's oldest university, Harvard is rooted in many deep traditions. For example, every Halloween, students go to the top of the physics building here and throw pumpkins from the roof in order to check if gravity still works. The Harvard Yard is the core of the historic campus, yet despite the university's motto, Veritas, the Latin word for truth, here is the very famous statue of 3 lies. Harvard University was actually founded in 1636, not 1638. John Harvard was not the founder. He was a significant benefactor who donated half of his estate and his library to the college. You see, this sculpture isn't of John Harvard. It's actually modeled after a student. You see, Tiered, centuries ago, lies were a lot more common in this part of the world. Despite these inaccuracies, this sculpture is still an icon and beloved symbol of Harvard University. Folks love touching the foot here as a symbol of good luck. And there's also a tradition that before students graduate, they need to pee on the sculpture, also to seal their diplomas. Kind of an example of the not very dry sense of humor here at Harvard. Harvard University's neighbor, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology here, is very well known for its wet sense of humor. The student body has a long tradition of creative pranks, also called hacks. For instance, in 1999, they transformed the Great Dome of the building behind me into a replica sculpture of R2-D2.
Thanks. On Sustainable Wednesday, we also discussed several sustainability initiatives to transform the brownfield industry to a more sustainable greenfield industry. Buzzwords around that in Europe are innovation, clean industrial deal, and the chemicals industry package. Something I will discuss in the statement of the day was Paul Ylioja from Merck in Germany. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Chad. It's a privilege to be here.
It's great to have you here. Paul, how relevant are regulation and innovation for the transformation of industry?
Absolutely crucial. I think particularly in the EU now, another buzzword is simplification, and that's what's being pushed through, trying to get all of the regulations to work together and provide a much more stable and predictable environment for industry to innovate.
And your statement is?
My statement is, innovation is needed for both chemical sustainability and regulatory certainty.
Paul, thank you very much for your statement. Let's return to Arturas. I'm sure Harvard students are also very innovative.
Yes, and some of them take a path that you might not expect, like Joanna Chang, a graduate of applied mathematics and economics who left a very lucrative career in management consulting to start Flour Bakery, where I currently am. Here they serve many delicious treats like the famous Boston cream pie. It was invented in the Parker House in the 1800s, a nearby hotel, and as you can see, it's a lot more of a cake than it is a real pie. You can see delicate layers of sponge cake, custard, and this beautiful chocolate top. It is the official state dessert of Massachusetts.
Thanks, it looks delicious. Many delicious things also at tonight's social event. But before that, we have a very energizing program on our Sustainable Wednesday. First, we start the morning with a session on sustainability strategies and initiatives in the EU. And we will focus on substitution to safer alternatives. In the afternoon, we take Sustainable Wednesday to the next level with a focus on sustainability ambitions and consequences in the value chain, with among others the global framework on chemicals. And we will also get an investor's view on chemicals management. Thank you for watching and enjoy today. And for those here in Boston, enjoy our social event.